I teach mindfulness and ancient wisdom in this room. I teach mindfulness for veterans here a couple times a month, and I teach ancient wisdom classes in this room a couple times a month, and I actually really love this room. To me, it's a chamber of meditation practice, and people come, sometimes they stay, and sometimes they go, and sometimes they stay a long time, and sometimes they stay a short time. They seem to get what they need, and I feel like I'm passing a flame. I feel like I'm inviting people into the ageless wisdom and the practice of consciousness, and I observe and I listen, and it seems to me that people's lives get better. I know my life is better because of this practice. I probably wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for meditative spirituality. So if you're seeking a definition to meditation and mindfulness, most simply, it's the practice of attention, consciousness, and awareness applied to one's body, one's heart, and one's mind, and then, extended to others and to the world. So basically, it's focus training, and some people call it consciousness discipline or awareness practice. When I was 14, my mother brought home Paramahansa Yogananda's autobiography of a yogi, and I didn't want to have anything to do with it because I thought he looked really weird. But she made me read it, and within a few pages I knew I was home. It's like the path, and I knew that was mine. That was my life. And my mother was kind enough to bring me lots and lots of books. There wasn't anybody in my town who was interested in that stuff for the longest time. So I was kind of, reading. And then I moved to Ojai at one point and started meeting some extraordinary people. I lived in the Theosophical Retirement community, and my next door neighbor was a student of lamas, and the first Westerner to ever write about reincarnation was just down the block, and there were all these people who did the Buddhist festivals, and really met some extraordinary people who helped me develop my sense of the practice. What is my teaching philosophy? Well, most people don't know this, but I've actually taught at every phase of the human lifespan. I didn't set out to do that on purpose, but it just kind of evolved. I've taught infants and toddlers, preschool, school children, junior high, high school, community college, university, graduate, doctoral, community seminars, corporate workshops, clinical, spiritual. I've taught meditation in schools, churches, centers, colleges, rehabs, and clinics. And I think I'm a journeyman teacher. And my vision of teaching really comes from the Himalayas. That there's these people up in the mountains that you find them, and they will help you find your way. And they're teachers and healers, and they're deeply steeped in the practices of wisdom. And I aspire to live that life. And my approach to teaching is that wisdom is of the soul. That wisdom isn't something that you take from one person and put into another person. I'm not, so much imparting wisdom from me to others as really calling it forth from their being, from the depths of their being. And there's a lot of ideas and skills that I teach in order to help that to happen. But I strive to approach other beings as if they were as if they were souls, as if they were, spiritual consciousness entities. And by treating other beings in that way, it kind of helps them to remember that they are that, and helps them to awaken to their original essential nature. I had this one encounter with a young woman from the Yucatan, down in Central America, who had lived in the jungle and had heard these kind of legends of Bible stories. And she made her way out of the jungle, and somehow she found herself in California, and somehow she appeared in my class, and she didn't speak English, and she couldn't write, And I was teaching psychology, and she was in this class. Somehow she got in this class, and I created a way for her to succeed. I want to close with this. I believe that there is real school, and I consider myself like the officer of this center that is responsible with transmitting the perennial tradition. And the way I do it is what I believe is real school, that people need to engage with the great ideas and skills of this species. And that's actually way harder than it ought to be. It's hard to find those things. If you don't know where to look for them, there's so much noise in bookstores and on the internet. It's very hard to find the pure stuff, and people need help doing that. And then it's really hard to read things that were written across continents away from you and across millennia away from you, and people need help with that. And they need a little focus training so they can actually, break through into the jewel-like paragraph that was given to us by some master, 1,000 years ago in some mountains, on the other side of the world. And to break through into that and to, be able to taste what that means, and then, to actually, put it into service, to find the purpose and meaning in those great ideas and skills, and then to put them into service. And I believe that's real school. And that should not be lost. It's in danger of being lost. But the truth is, perennial means you can't ever really kill it. It keeps coming back. Sometimes people try to get rid of that, but it just keeps coming back every generation. And I feel that my assignment is to promote that, the perennial tradition. And I do it through teaching real school, mostly in this basement.